It's Michelle again. I do, we do, you do. The whole idea behind I do, we do, you do is to move from explicit modeling and instruction to guided practice and collaboration, and then to activities that position students to being independent with the learning. This term was developed by Pearson and Gallagher way back in 1983. You might also know this as the gradual release of responsibility. That focused lesson is modeling, the teacher thinking aloud, working examples, showing what the skill looks and sounds like when done proficiently. I really wanted to say correctly here, but you always want to consider the development of your learners. Kinder modeling is certainly going to look differently than modeling in a secondary classroom. Interactive read aloud, modeled writing, and worked math problems are examples of focused lessons. Guided instruction or guided practice is the opportunity for students to try on the skill they have just watched their teacher model. They get to practice under the guidance of the teacher with appropriate scaffolding. Guided reading is an example. Giving students practice math problems to solve while the teacher observes, or giving students a chance to practice a writing technique under the supervision of the teacher. All examples of guided instruction. All of these scaffolded practices provide a platform for students to ask questions, make mistakes so the teacher can clarify misconceptions before they move on to working on their own. The last thing you want students to do is practice a skill incorrectly. Guided practice ensures that students are ready to move on to working on their own. Collaborative opportunities include practice with peers. Again, the last thing you want students to do is practice a skill incorrectly. Collaborative practice might be a turn and talk or working several problems together in a group. Guided reading is collaborative as students are processing text together under the supervision and guidance of the teacher. You might notice that both guided instruction and collaborative fall under the we do of the graphic. Again, students need scaffolded practice with the teacher and classmates before moving on to practicing on their own. I also want to say here that during this collaborative practice, it is super important for students to be using academic language. It is perfectly okay to provide students with sentence stems and frames for the language you want to hear. Independent work is that individual application of the teaching, demonstration of proficiency. So what does I do, we do, you do look like in the remote world? If you're thinking about that focus lesson, that I do piece, it has become common practice to find how-tos on YouTube or Khan Academy, Brain Pop, or better yet, create your own using Screencast-O-Matic or Screencastify. Those videos are easily dropped into the learning management system of your choice. Likewise, when you think about that you do, that independent piece, putting independent practice like math problems or worksheets into Canvas or Google Classroom has become common practice. The sticky wicket in the remote world is the we do. Giving students a platform for scaffolded practice under the supervision and guidance of the teacher, as well as opportunities for collaboration with peers. How do these translate into the remote world? It's all in the strategic planning for your in-person and remote learning. It's not about using the latest and greatest technology tools. Rather, pick a couple and use them strategically and intentionally to deliver instruction that includes connecting to prior language, being super clear about what you want students to know and be able to do and why, modeling, checking for understanding, practice, feedback, and closure. All of these can most certainly be achieved by using the KPBSC tools that you see in front of you. Examples are Zoom breakout rooms, using the chat box, poll feature, individual conferences, meet with groups via Zoom, having students video themselves performing a skill. Actually, any activity that you can supervise students doing a skill or interact with peers in academic discourse. Give a platform for questions and answer, like Padlet. Be creative. Just another plug. I'm not suggesting that you learn a new platform or be super knowledgeable about every platform known to man. The idea is to find a couple that meet your academic goals with students and become expert at just those.